Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Susanne, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or zip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Point to Rise podcast. My name is Susanne and I am your host today. Today we have Dr. Kinga Mnich on the show. Now, I am not reading you a bio today. I am just telling you that Dr. Kinga is a social psychologist, impact and leadership strategist, adventurer, entrepreneur, an avid reader, a public speaker, a mindset coach, a dog lover, yogi, and mountain biker. We're having a conversation about leadership and what it really means to be a leader and where she found all of her passion for leadership. We're diving deep into her why and into her story as she came as, a Polish refugee into Germany and found herself 5 years in a refugee camp in Germany. So without no further ado, I can't wait to share this conversation with you. Here's Dr. Kinga. And we can slide it together however it works.
Yeah.
My husband has magic hands when it comes to that.
Perfect.
Welcome to the show. So here's what I'm struggling with. Am I calling you Dr. Kinga? Or how do you prefer to be addressed as and to? Because
it's an excellent and difficult question. You can just call me Kinga. I'm in a professional setting, when I move people around. I try to default now back to Dr. Kinga. But I don't know, in close, intimate settings like this, it's just weird, it's just very weird.
Yeah, it's like I'm sitting in your office.
There's no reason for it. Yeah.
Well, Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I'm humbled and thank you for being here. I am so looking forward to this conversation. So when I was talking about you in the intro, I actually said that I'm not going to read any kind of bio because it doesn't give justice to who you actually are. There are a lot of titles and achievements in there, but what I really want to showcase today is you as a person, you with all the knowledge that you have in leadership and psychology and mindset, and beyond, as a woman, as a refugee, as your story is so highly intriguing that a bio can literally not cover who you are. So I'm just going to I preface it and I'm prefacing it again that this is how today's episode is going to roll. I would love if you could give us, and you can go as deep as you want to, an overview of who you are, what you're doing, and maybe a little bit where you came from.
Oh, Susanne, I have to say, wow. I love that. I find it always very hard when people ask me to send them the bio or ask them, just to put it into a few sentences, what it is, who I am. And they will ask like, what are your achievements? Just speak about the achievements. And it's so funny what you just did, because you basically stripped me naked to the core. So I'm like, I feel like my heart, starting to beat a little bit faster. I'm like, this is making me nervous. This is.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That was not my
no, but in a good way. Look, I am all about pushing boundaries. So when you're asking me of who I am a person in becoming every day. No matter what I do, no matter who I work with, it's all about understanding, oh, I'm feeling comfortable. I need to make the next step. Because comfort for me is like, if I'm becoming too comfortable, that means that I'm not learning, I'm not exploring more, I'm not. And it's almost, like I had as a child and a teenager, I said to my mom once, like, I want to learn everything. I need to know everything. And my mom just looked at me and she was like, you're crazy. That's not possible. And I was convinced that it's possible. That's not a terrible thing, I guess. And I was convinced that it is possible. But of course, the older we get, the more we learn that what we don't know. And the more you learn, the more you know what you don't know. But that means also that there is so much more out there. And therefore, sometimes I find myself in that place of time rush, not having the feeling that time is just not on my side, even though I always try to teach time is on my side. And reframing and rephrasing also what success means, or the ideas that we had at some point. But yeah, so what you did is, I think it's really beautiful, because it really comes down to that core question of, oh, who am I, or who are you, and who are we together? And I am a social psychologist. That is something that I am, and I don't mean that from a perspective of a title. It is more the perspective of an explorer. Social psychology has been my tool to explore the world, to learn the things that I want to learn. And it is very much in alignment with the questions that I'm asking when I'm moving forward and the people that I'm working with. So I am not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist in such a way, the way, especially it in the American context. I do offer facilitation and mediation, and as a mentor also. I do offer coaching, but I'm not a coach. And so that's the reason why what you did is just so beautiful, because I don't have to put myself right now into one of those buckets. And I think that it comes down from what I'm understanding to the core also of your work, like taking the buckets and opening them up and widening the perspective for people of how we are living, how we are transforming, how cultures and places are transforming. So I am a social psychologist, and I am working with people on helping them to become not better, but to grow in their journey as leaders through the use of positive psychology, neuroscience, and meditation. That are my three tools that I've collected over the years as such, and that really helped me to thrive, more in life, or design my life based on my rules. And not to sound too tacky, but that is just something that really, I think, is a result of growing up as a refugee, an immigrant, and as a person that has, lived across the world. I had to learn to let go of the expectations that people have around me and really listen to the deep core of what makes me happy. And am I living my life for me, or am I living the life for the people around me? And I had to make that decision very, very quickly in order to let go of, things that were just going on around me while I was growing up in Germany. So I was born in Poland, grew up in Germany, which the country and society has given me many, many opportunities, and I'm not letting go of my German passport, because it's coming with many freedoms, as you know. But it also came with a lot of other aspects. Yeah, German society is very rigorous, very structured, so when you're stepping out of that structure, it comes with a lot of downsides and a lot of questioning, negative questioning. So that comes really to that second part, right? Me being a social psychologist, but really the second part is a joyful explorer. And that's where the positive psychology comes in. I don't believe that life is hard. I do think that there are difficult aspects to life, and we always encounter hurdles, but through the use of our own thoughts, we can decide on how we want to live and feel and be in that specific moment. And that's something that, and please feel free to interrupt me,
I'm like,
yeah,
keep going.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I had that conversation with a couple of other people as well, but I was very fortunate and privileged to work with Holocaust survivors when I was 17, since I was 17. Of course, I come also from the area that is close to Auschwitz in Poland. So there's family history with that on top of it. But working with Holocaust survivors was special in such a way that it brought me closer to the understanding of what forgiveness means, and how important it is in our own self-development, self-growth journey, or actually in the journey of really finding freedom. Like freedom and independence is one of my 3 core values. Like I need to feel independent and free. I don't need, like, if I don't feel free or independent, it doesn't matter what kind of money you're going to give me, whatever is around me, I need to have that feeling of I can breathe, like I don't, so I think. And so that was the first time, like in my late teen years or middle teen years, however, where I was privileged to travel a little bit through Germany with Holocaust survivors, and they were going through their own story, telling me their own story. It was part of some specific work that the city of Frankfurt was doing. And not just because I was able to receive insight into the lives, but also into the thoughts, how these people were coping with it. And the beauty, seeing the beauty in it, and then there is beauty in life beyond our grief and pain and trauma. That everything that we are experiencing, that it is part of what we are experiencing, but that does not mean that it's becoming part of our identity. So that was that early fast experience. I don't think that I was really reflecting on it before, because there wasn't necessarily much time. My parents were working very hard. They were trying to do their best. They were in the new country and all of that. And then the second aspect of that, and that comes back to the joy aspect, like I want to feel free and independent, and I want to experience life through the perspective of joy. And I'm saying joy, not happiness, because I feel like happiness, it's like, it's the joy is, I don't have to laugh 24/7, it's more about I am in this moment and I'm able to harness it and remember it as much as I am remembering also difficult situations. And I think we will go maybe deeper into that a little bit later. But the other day someone said to me, and it was so beautiful, it was such a great reminder, when we have pain, we focus on it, we remember it, we speak about it. When we have joy, we don't, and let it, we can call it that negativity bias, we can call it culture, whatever it is. But how do we shift that? How do we shift that mindset? Because there's as much joy as pain in the world. And the mindset shift is what helps us to understand that we can harness that other side of that emotion. So, then in that entire journey, I went to South Africa in 2009 for the first time as an exchange student. It was, it just happened. Like, it wasn't planned. A lot of things in my life, in my 20s, I tried to plan them, but that was just something that just kind of like happened. There was a South African professor. He came to the University of Mainz in Germany, and I took a class because it was in English, and before I lived in New York for a year, and I was like, oh, how fun, I really want to have, again, some classes in English. So why not? And he was the one who was like, hey, you know what? There are scholarships for South Africa. Why don't you apply and come to South Africa? And it was so funny because it never crossed my mind. And that's how the universe works, right? It never, like, things don't cross your mind. I was always intrigued and interested in Buddhism. I've been doing yoga, since my teenage years. And Asia was always on my mind. I traveled to Asia multiple times. I stayed in Asia for a longer time. And then there was South Africa. I'm like, that's just odd, but I did it. Like, I'm like, whatever, let's just do it. Let's see what it does. And that was really a significant turning point in my life and the beginning of putting everything back together into place. So really dismantling it and bringing it back. And I don't know if you've seen it, like I started recently using the hashtag disconnect to reconnect. In the meantime, I think in order to understand what we actually want and who we are, we need to sometimes step back and let go of who we are, and then take the pieces that we are in agreement with. So I was in South Africa as an exchange student, came back, finished my master's degree, worked as much as possible as I could, predominantly actually for a merger and acquisition bank, saved up and sold everything that I had and moved back to South Africa. So that's
all right. Well,
the story.
Why did you move back to South Africa?
Because I realized when people with a similar background, we do share similar stories. Money was there was always a lack of money in our family, and I always believed that joy will come through having money. So through making a career, going corporate, maybe like whatever it takes to do it. And when I was in South Africa, that was for the first time in a really long time that I had nothing else to do besides studying. So while I was studying, I was also always working full-time because I wanted to travel and have specific things. Highlight that, maybe, I don't know. And then in South Africa, it was so I was on a full scholarship. Therefore, there was kind of like miraculously money coming into my account, the apartment and everything was paid. And so,
I like that.
Yeah. And I was sitting at the beach, and it was really interesting because I had this class this Friday. So it was a very specific course that I signed up for it. And it was like a 10-hour day on Friday. And then the rest of the week you were off because you were working on assignments. So I had a lot of time on my hands. Like, I don't even remember when I had that much time before. Like, I never really partied. I didn't do things like that because I was very focused career, like I need to do a career. I need to make money because that's going to bring me the joy or the happiness, that for some reason I picture somehow. And then in South Africa, I was just happy. Like, there was no reason whatsoever. Like, no, nothing. And then I was in Port Elizabeth, which is a smaller city, it's about a 10-hour drive from Cape Town. We were walking in flip-flops most of the time. No one cared what you were wearing. And there was not a lot of shopping opportunities, kind of like the minimum. So that's not something that you would do. I started surfing. I would go to yoga twice a day. Oh my God. I was the other day trying to implement that back into my life, like in the morning and in the evening. Incredible.
Yeah.
And that kind of, like that feeling, I just wanted to have that feeling. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to have anything else. I just wanted to have that feeling of, I felt incredibly accepted in South Africa because it's such a colorful culture. And that feeling that comes with it. Like, really, like, I don't know. I had a tropical doctor in Frankfurt that I visited after my first stay because I traveled through other African countries and caught a couple of worms that were under my skin. And so I was sitting with him in that practice while he was working with me. And I told him, like how much I miss it and that what I'm planning to do. And I really want to move down there. And I have no clue what I'm going to do. I have no clue how it's going to, work out, but I'm just going to do it. And he said, once you've been in Africa, you can never let go of that feeling because it is the cradle of humankind. And it's like home. It just hits you really deep. And I remember it, my husband actually read a quote and he came with a quote to me and just wanted to see my reaction. And so I started taking that quote on me and with me and repeating it. And it says, I wasn't born in Africa, but Africa was born in me. And I am right now in the US, and my husband is from Mexico, and I have all this different cultures also kind of like in me that I've, collected. But that feeling of belonging, that identity, I think that at the end of the day, we are all searching for that. So that is the other side of the story, the stripped away part, the non-titles, the non-achievements, because the achievements, honestly, Susanne, I agree, they don't matter to me, because I'm not there yet. Like I am still in the process of doing the things that I want to do and accumulate the life that I want to accumulate. So I love that question. And thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
Wow. So thank you. We could finish the episode because that was so beautiful in so many aspects, so many nuggets in there. You completely threw me for a loop because I usually don't plan, but I thought, okay, I want to go this way, but I'm just going to throw that right back there and reassess. So here's what I want to talk about first. It is that the need of freedom and independency, the being authentically you versus belonging to something. And I find that need, I have that same need. It is one of my core values. It's my word for the year, freedom in every aspect, the dismantling before building back up, the letting go of what doesn't serve me anymore. That is my kind of freedom that I'm referring to. But I also grew up in East Germany where there wasn't freedom, So for you spent what, 5 years in a refugee camp? I'm sure that wasn't very free either. Working with Holocaust people, survivors, everything else but free.
Yeah,
they may have gained their sense of freedom again, but I can imagine, and I was inundated just by history so much through that too. Let's talk about what that really means to you to be free.
And I think that question also comes back to that first question that you asked, and then me looping first back into social psychology, and I'm going to try to explain now the best way I can. But when I started first with sociology. That's what so I have my master's degree, well, Magister, like the German master, in sociology, in sociology and philosophy, and actually also art history, just
what? Art history? Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I'm finding out all these things. Like I thought I did my research. Okay.
It's not, it's that I don't put it out always, because it just gets confusing, but it just shows you kind of like the versatile mind, like the me wanting to learn. But when we look at human beings and we look at ourselves and we look at human beings quite often from a psychological perspective and from a therapy perspective, quite often we are trying to fix something within you. But what if you are not the problem? What if you is not what is actually causing the pain, but the surrounding around you, the system? And you can tell us, Susanne, I mean, you have a whole story of that, right? The system that you grew up with that was broken. The system that was penalizing people and, taking away their freedom. I mean, that's a system that my parents grew up with. I mean, I
Right.
have some small memories of it, but I was small. I was 4.5 when we came to Germany, and then everything. The child's brain is so amazing in such a way that it really refers. It tries to make everything positive. And so I cannot even tell you a lot of their specific memories that were rather funny, when we were kind of like at the border in Eastern Germany, trying to get to Western Germany.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure you have stories. That's like a separate episode. Oh,
Yeah, but so what does freedom mean? And I think that social psychology part was, I wanted to, and I still, because I understand a lot of things, but I mean, we are exploring and learning more and more and more as we go as a society, as me understanding how we as individuals operate within that social surrounding, within the culture, and how can we ensure that you as a individual are whole in yourself, that you are able to navigate on your terms, but without necessarily causing too much friction with the world around you. So I'm not talking about adaptation, but rather figuring out a way, where are the boundaries that you're going to be setting, the way that you talk to other people, the times that you say yes and no. And it goes even more so, and I think that maybe, when you moved away, essentialism, I think that essentialism is freedom for me in a specific way, that I understood that I am enough. I don't need anything to feel happy. Like, yes, right now, we are right now in the US and we bought a house and so on. And it's really beautiful. But in my life, I was stripped naked from things several times. I did it twice on purpose, on myself. Before I was, that wasn't necessarily my choice. But when I moved to South Africa completely and I let go of everything, I just had 2 suitcases. That was it. I had 2 suitcases because I didn't want to pay for a container. You know how much that is. It's just nonsense. I'm like, this stuff is not worth, to pay for a container. So I had 2 suitcases. And then while I was in South Africa, I was realizing that I still had things that I didn't need. So I would give them away. And then when I moved to the United States, it was kind of like the similar situation. I did accumulate a couple of other things, and then was the same thing. Like, am I going to be shipping that over? No. So let's just get rid of it. And it's an interesting thing because it brings us sometimes down to, like here, I have a couple of friends that have old family homes here, I mean, they have photos from 1890, they have books that belong to their families that are, from 18 something. I don't have that. And we never had that because First World War, Second World War, and all of that, in the area where I come from, Poland, it stripped everything naked. Like, my family didn't have anything. So sometimes I get curious about what would it mean to know more about the past. But at the same time, I find it tremendously freeing to know that I can survive without anything. And not just survive, because here's the thing, everyone that has ever gotten rid of everything that they have, besides the essentials, that feeling is freedom. That feeling when you pack up one bag and you can travel around the world and you have everything that you need. It's just so freeing. Like, if you are somewhere and you don't have to worry if someone's going to break in, take something from you, if you're going to forget something, if you stain something or whatever, it all just becomes so irrelevant. And so that is the one side to freedom. The other freedom for me is then to be able to choose to do the things that I want, no matter the questions that I'm receiving. And so when I decided in 2011 to move to South Africa completely, most of my friends were asking me, why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing this? Isn't this crazy? Your career, why are you not staying here? Like, everything is rolling out for you nicely. Don't you think that what are you going to do with your retirement, your security? I mean, you can go down the right. I mean, it's so funny. And like, I don't even know how to say that, but it was funny in such a regard because I was like, okay, so if I go down to South Africa, I had enough money to survive for 2 years. I go down to South Africa. It doesn't work out. Worst case scenario is I'm going to beg my parents to buy me a ticket back home. And then there is Social Security in Germany that will help me out to go back on my feet.
Exactly.
So it was so funny, you know, because people were like painting all the doom and gloom and horrible scenarios. And I'm like,
Nope.
I am privileged in such a way that I am a German citizen. That comes with a privilege. And it's not necessarily a default setting. I never had to use it, you know, but it was kind of like there, because here's the other part of the story. I went to South Africa back then with my ex-husband, who left earlier South Africa because he didn't share the dream, just to shorten that. But we were in South Africa, I guess, for like 8 weeks or not even 10 weeks. And I had an offer from the university to teach at the university. So I started teaching at the university. With that, I knew kind of like in my back of my mind, I always wanted to do a PhD. I just wanted to continue with research. So I started exploring the possibilities, you know, went back to Germany, got some support from the university, and then went back to South Africa and integrated that. And then on top of that, because I was working before already as a consultant, you know, I started consulting for German companies in South Africa. So people were, you know, like all these fears that people had and were trying to implement into me, that crazy life before, I think freedom is the trust in yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way. So that's technically the definition of confidence. But I think that's the definition of freedom. To know that you can handle what comes your way. And then be open with it and just see what's going to come, because the things that it will work out, you know, you might have to grind your way through because some certain things are just not pleasant. You know, I mean, I worked night shifts at the airport, you know, while I was studying, and then going still to university at 8 a.m. and stuff like that. So yes, we do have to take sometimes things that we don't want to necessarily do. Even today, you know, we started the conversation like, this has been a really long week already, and we're just on Wednesday. But the overall feeling, I can handle whatever comes my way, and I can really confidently say that I can handle it. And it doesn't matter if I'm stuck at a border somewhere between countries, if people, you know, want a bribe, if people are trying to close doors for me, you know, it's like the freedom is that, you know what, it will work itself out.
Having that faith, right? Not everything is going to work out for you at any given point. Yeah. I totally agree. I've never heard it so beautifully put into a beautiful wrapped golden box. So thank you for that. That's a huge gift for me too. I want to pivot a little bit, and I want to talk about leadership. So the first time we connected, your analogy of leadership was definitely one of the most beautiful ways I have ever heard anybody look at leadership. And I'd love you to share that. And I'm telling you why, because when I look at my purpose, at my passion, at where my heart lies, I see performing arts lack so much of leadership. And the right kind, the fostering kind of leadership, the leadership that comes from the heart and the soul, the purpose-driven leadership. So it would be for everybody a huge gift if you could share what leadership really truly is for you and how you're teaching it.
So let me try to recoup the words that I used last time. But so okay, I need to get my mind into this. But leadership is not about the leader. Let's start with that. I think that quite often leadership is being misunderstood, and it is in a way of someone climbing up the corporate ladder, and that's all about that person stepping into that position. And so it has been now for years just about you, and now you're stepping into a leadership position. And so how do we reframe and re-understand that leadership? Because leadership is not about you. It's not about you having walked up that corporate ladder. Leadership is about being a visionary, being able to create a big picture that connects through emotions with people and gives them hope and understanding, and also motivation, inspiration. So leadership for me is being able to open up spaces and create trust and security so others can step into their full power, so others can understand how they can contribute, they can understand what their role is and feel safe to explore, so they fully understand what their true skills are. So it's a lot about the trust and the safety and vision. It's not about the person that is in that leadership position, about them succeeding or performing, delivering, because that are usually the words that come with it. So great leaders see the potential in others. Great leaders are generally generalists. They are not specialists, because as generalists, they have the capability of understanding what the specialists need. So it's the groundbreakers, right? It's the person that is creating the base for others to flourish. That is my understanding of leadership. And here's the thing, it's not always easy to be that person, because we also all have inspirations, and we want to have achievements, and we want to have also people sometimes applaud us. It's not maybe the best word, but it's kind of nice when you succeed at something, right? If you're running a race and like you are number one. So, and then, but that feeling is just momentarily. If you are providing the base for others to flourish, I think that is joy. That is a permanent state of gratitude, and not even gratitude, maybe so, but contentment.
Yeah. And fulfillment, like
Yes.
true fulfillment, like you feel complete. So
Yes.
by the way, yes, you nailed it. You completely recreated that moment. Thank you for sharing. I listened to Simon Sinek last night, and one of his most beautiful examples about leadership is the one with the barista, that he walked into the Four Seasons cafe, and the barista was just so happy and so generous, and singing and asking questions and really being authentically him and taking care of Simon. And he asked him, tell me, what's going on? Why are you so? And he's like, because I love my job. I really, truly love being here. And he asked him, wow, tell me why. Because I have been asked 4 times already, and I'm only here for 2 hours, how I'm doing, how am I feeling? Do I have everything to do my job the very best that I can do? Do I feel seen? Do I feel heard and loved? Do I feel like I am set up for success? Fully held and fully taken care of. And he said, and I have another job down the street in another hotel where the management team looks for what is wrong at any given moment and tells us that and expects us to do better than that. And he said, yep, I'm not bought in, I don't enjoy it, I collect my paycheck and I'm out. And I don't go above and beyond at any given point. I really don't care that these were his words. I don't care about what I'm doing. I am literally just here to collect the paycheck.
Yeah.
And I find that there is, as you said earlier on, it is so easy for us to look at what's not working, what's not good, where the default, not the defaults, the mishaps, what is wrong. We can point that out in a heartbeat. We know what we don't want. But when we're swinging over to the other side and say, hey, what actually does work? Who's doing great stuff? What do I want? How can I help? How can I provide value? That is where it becomes hard. That is where discipline is asked. This is where perspective needs to be changed. And this is where true leadership for me too really comes in and is necessary in order to not only produce an extraordinary service and people, but also the product that people can relate to and want versus needing that product.
Yeah.
So it's not that I didn't know it, but the more and more I'm putting business and arts together, I see where the gap is. And it's in the understanding of true leadership. It's in the understanding that business leadership is nothing, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not the enemy. It could become your biggest asset if you're actually leaning into it. So,
and it's,
yes,
if I may, you know, with that, with the leadership, I think it's this, and I think that we are really on the verge of change and transformation. And it's a really odd time in that matter, because what true leadership is, authentic leadership or effective leadership, versus how leadership looks like in reality, quite often there are two things, you know. That is partially the reason, the way I see it, is the genderization of it, you know, giving specific male qualities to leadership, you know, the same way we give specific qualities or the same way we assign specific emotions to specific genders, you know, stripping the other gender of the ability to form that. And in that entire process, and I think we spoke about that a little bit, you know, where the society is also moving, instead of compartmentalizing, you know, seeing the whole. Somehow we always, you know, we are still in this, what's the right word? But like, you know, we still see black and white. We still see body and mind. We see egoism versus community, or individualism versus community. And it's really interesting, because when you also go into research on depression, just something just to give you a practical example. Research shows that in most cases, depression can be solved when people start focusing on someone else. So you are depressed, but instead of focusing on yourself and on your pain, you focus on someone else and focus on how you can help them. That's what quite often solves depression. Now we are in a world where we are also consistently saying self-care, time for yourself, focus on yourself, you know, so duality, right? We are somehow underlining that duality consistently. And I think that's what's really confusing. But I think the moment we can dissolve duality and understand that if I take care of myself, and by taking care of myself, I mean now you sleep and you eat healthy. I don't mean going and shopping for the Louis Vuitton handbag, you know, in the matter of I deserve this. You know, I hope that you understand what I'm, but in the matter of I need to take care of my basic human needs, because then I'm in an emotional state where I can be the best version of myself, and then I can serve others. And then not seeing serving others as a feminine trait, but as if you're doing better, I'm doing better. So if you are now a leader and your team is performing, your artists are performing, you know, in your context, I'm as a leader, I will also do better. There's no duality between your achievements and my achievements. And just because I'm giving my time to you doesn't mean necessarily that I'm taking away time from myself. And that is, it's such a, it sounds simple, but at the end it is complex. And then we are bringing, of course, tons of buzzwords right now into the world, that don't necessarily help the case of simplifying it. I think we are on the brink of change by overcomplicating things that will then hopefully bring down the complexity and dismantle it again. And so for your art, like with artists, especially working with artists, it's such an interesting topic because we cannot live without arts, right? We need them.
Yeah.
And we don't need them, and we don't need them just for entertainment, we need them for joy. We need them for expression. We need them for understanding even the political environment better. So many artists, explain actually what's happening in the politics by simplifying it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, in some areas we don't value it correctly, or even the leadership, maybe the leadership is not valuing it. Or, something what I heard the other day from a leader. I was asking this person, like why the feedback is so harsh and why this person is not being a little bit more lenient on the team. And the response was, I had to go through all of that hardship as well. So just because you had to go through that hardship, and now the world has changed. Why do you want others to have to go through that as well? We are not going to gain any perspective through that. We are also not going to become better, and we are not sincerely not going to evolve more. Innovation is part of us growing, and growing just happens if we reach the specific levels. So levels means we are going up. So I cannot force you artificially to come down just because I want you to feel what I felt, because you're hindering the process of innovation and well, in social psychological terms, it would be civilization, in this stage,
Yeah.
but evolution almost,
Well,
moving
yeah.
upwards, bringing in new ideas, taking one idea and making it better. And that is the duality. I think that also a lot of the older generation and a lot of, let's say, Western countries, I think has such a struggle with, is to let go of their own ways because they believe that it's going to make them obsolete or value them less. No, you created a great base. Now allow us to take it and make it even better.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much. I think that concept is the root of the struggle that we're seeing in the world in performing arts. Like it's everywhere. Like if we're looking at politics, right? There's so many there that can't let go of the old, can't let go of what has been done before, has worked, and now therefore we need to participate in continuing this way. Traditional thinking is the enemy of, what is it, creative thinking, right? And not to deny the traditions or old patterns or how we have been doing things hasn't gotten us somewhere, but we're forgetting that there is never, here I say it, an either or. There's always an and. There's always something that we can add to make it better, like the thriving for evolution. I find particularly in performing arts there's like a big wall there that says stop, do not go further. We are keeping it this way, right?
And it's so odd because the things that people are capable of doing with their bodies now compared to like 30 years.
Oh, yeah. And thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. And the demands are much higher. The tools, however, and the structure and how it is being delivered and the expectations around business structure here, but it's not a business, it's a cause, really, has not changed. And I think when you were talking about I want them to feel the pain that I felt, that is one of the causes that performing arts hasn't evolved, because we're putting people into leadership that it's not about the other people. It's not about the company. It's not about the vision, but it's about them fulfilling their dream. And with that, the ego is the biggest overhead that company is actually carrying, because it stops them from growing and evolving. And that way, I think we're keeping people small. We're keeping them in a box where we're not allowing them to grow into their full potential, because we're not making it about them. We're not making it about the product and the artists, and we're not making it about the people that come to see it. I think one of the reasons you said so beautifully that art is that we need it. We needed to understand the world. We needed to be inspired and to be motivated and to laugh and to see beauty and. But we don't think, or we don't see it as something that we can relate to in many ways anymore, because it has become so obsolete, because it's about the people that are making it versus who is it for and who's creating it. Yeah.
And there's one thing what we spoke about last time a little bit, and I was like really, really thinking about that, and just like trying to like wrap my head around it and also see what my mind is doing, because sometimes our mind will go into a different area that we necessarily agree with. Our values don't necessarily reflect what our thoughts are doing. And we were talking, or I brought up a little bit of the topic of, how do we accept different forms of body also into arts, right? And like everything that's happening with specific, different movements, and also, with the LGBTQ movement and the voices that are being raised and all of that. And our conversation, like really, like I was sitting and I was just like thinking. I'm like, well, what is like the base of this, like what is also the commonality of people, like wanting to voice their races, the voices more, raise their voices more. And then, it hit me, like I had another conversation and we were talking about us being humans and what does it mean. And it brought me back to a meditation session in which I was part of 2013, July 2013. I will never forget it. And it was an amazing teacher. She's still in the US. I'm still in touch with her. And she set us down into the meditation. It was a guided meditation. And she brought us in, and it was really stunning. And then in the middle of the meditation, she says, we are so good at being. We are all the time something. We are being. But where's the human aspect? So what does it mean to be a human being? Not just the being part, not us just doing something, but that human factor, right? The emotions that come with it, the feelings that come with it. And it really, like made me think those two things actually really belong together. The reason why we have so many difficult conversations right now is because as society, we are quite often we are not doing that human part. We are doing being specific roles. And how freeing And that, let's bring that maybe even back to the full circle, to the beginning. How freeing would it all be for us if we actually stop caring so much about how people live their lives in a different way, what it means for them, taking away the trauma that we are causing with that, the boxing someone in. And you and I think, that we have that commonality. We are fighters, right? I will go out. Nothing is going to bring me down. Like I have I've built my base. I've built my armor. I am outspoken, but not everyone is like that. And we cannot accept that, and from everyone. But if we, and that goes even more so, from that to that fact when we say when to focus on yourself and when to focus on others. Focus on others when you mean well. Focus on yourself when you have negative thoughts and understand what it is that you need to improve.
Oh, I love that.
Because it's not, like the conversation that we had last time, I was like reflecting on it. I'm like, there were some things that I think she understands what I meant, but this is not how I meant. Like, it was like I had this duality with me. I'm like, I'm trying to break free from it. So it's like, let us be human beings. Yeah. Let us be human leaders for humans and thrive together.
Full circle. And that is so simple.
Yeah.
It can be so simple. And I feel we're caught up in this loop of everything else, but what it really matters to be and to be about. It literally in any aspect of life could be very, very simple if we were to strip ourselves from all these beliefs and needs of feeding our ego and our old stories and beliefs. Well, let me ask you this question. With everything today, and let's just say your 16-year-old self would actually sit down and listen to you, what would you tell her?
To be less angry. That's sincerely something. I don't think that I would have done necessarily something different, but I wish that earlier on, I would have been able to navigate my thoughts a little bit in a different way. It's not that I felt like I was a victim, that wasn't it, but I was partially, angry that others had specific opportunities that I didn't have. But now I understand, the pathway that I had was very important to bring me to where I am right now. And I would have made more friends along the way. Yeah. And I have incredible friends. I have an incredible community. And I'm meeting people like you, we never know who you will meet along the journey. But really be less angry and really focus on how you can get the things that you need. But by things, I mean feelings. What is it that you need to do in order to fill the gaps of those emotional gaps that help you? It's not something that we necessarily learn. We don't learn. No one teaches us how to express our emotions. No one, teaches us how to talk about them. And that goes back to, that's what I do, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what I did my PhD on, which this is a story for another time. It's like this person that was completely unemotional went into researching emotions. Was hilarious, Susanne. Absolutely hilarious.
There's a reason for everything, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you learned a lot.
But yeah, so it's really that. It's really, just to be less angry and just kind of like verbalize more. But besides that, I wouldn't, we need the journey that we are on. I don't know how else to say it. It's not easy sometimes, but it's rewarding, you know. Climbing Mount Everest wouldn't be as rewarding as it is if it wouldn't be difficult. Yeah.
Indeed. Oh, thank you. Okay, shifting gears, where can we find you? Besides on your, may I just say, beautiful website. If you're on here and listening, you should definitely check it out. Just going through her website is a journey that will make you feel like you're home.
Thank
And
you.
I want your web designer, just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susanne.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, website, and I just started a newsletter, mainly for the aspect. I kind of like it when people sign up because I do greet them personally.
Oh, wow. That you personally greet them. Can I just say, coming out of the coaching sphere, how unusual that is? Here,
but it's, you know,
cheers.
Cheers. I want to build personal relationships, you know, and if you're signing up for something and I'm supposed to come up into your mailbox, it's weird. Like, I feel like I need to know a little bit more about you. So I just started the newsletter, but I am on Instagram with Dr. Kinga Mnich, and I am on LinkedIn. That are the two most preferred ways, because you just get, you know, you can connect with me really quickly and you can DM me, and I will see that. So yeah, so that are the three. So the website and the social media, two social media channels. That is the simplest way to connect currently with me. There might be in the future a regular group coming up, not on Facebook. Not a big fan of Facebook, but something more that is kind of virtually in person. So I'm trying to figure out the details on that. But generally, yeah, feel free to connect. You know, I love to hear people's stories. I love to see what they're doing. And just also connect people with one another. So the first thing that I usually do is kind of like see what is it that you're working on and who else, you know, can I connect you with besides the work that I do. And
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much for today. That was, I knew that it's going to be special, but I didn't know how much you're going to fill my own cup. So I thank you for that. So
thank you.
Really, truly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and creating this space. Honestly, you know, that doesn't happen very often.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, actually, let us know what is your biggest takeaway. Tag us on Instagram. I can't wait to see that on the stories. And till next time, we're sending you so much love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.